Hello, good evening to all of you. I hope all of you can hear me. Okay, you can do a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Kamal Raj here, and it is fantastic to host our annual EFAT YPG India sessions. And I think most of us have switched to in-person format to online format. And I'm sure we have done loads of these for the last 8 to 9 months. I'm Kamal Raj. I co-lead India YPG along with Gaurav, and Gaurav would be joining us soon. Again, I welcome you all. It's a special occasion for YPG India because this is our fifth anniversary. And in 2016, we started our first chapter right at EFAT India and Mumbai. We were happy to start it, and we have come a long way. We've got a lot of exciting news. We've done quite a lot of work, and I think this particular community in India is growing. And today, to start with, we will spend time with our speakers here on career talks. So the idea is that we shall look into the different aspects of waste management in terms of career opportunity, in terms of talents, in terms of the current requirement, which is moving towards, say, circular economy and Industry 4.0, and how do you bring IoT into it, and we would try to explore as much as possible. So I request, I first of all invite and thank all the audience if they joined, and then thank you all speakers for joining us. I would request Sebastian to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kamal, for the introduction. And I think I was also speaking last year, right, at the IFAT in India, and there it was a physical meeting, and now we have the same online. And I'm very glad to participate again at the IFAT India. Thanks for having me. I was asked to share my story, so to say, how I came to waste management, and then also to refer to the points that you mentioned. What are the requirements at the moment, and what are the trends in terms of career and having a job inside circular economy and waste management. So my personal story is that I first started to study art history, so something very different. And so just before I started, so I was just joining the university, I said before I really study, I would like to go to India. So with a friend of mine, we were backpackers, so maybe you know them. These Europeans with the too heavy bags traveling to India, and I've done this as well 25 years ago now. Also tells me how old I am already. So it was mid of the 90s. And I thought, okay, art history is something very nice and fancy. And then we traveled the rural area of India. So we went to Bihar and also the northern region of Jammu and Kashmir. And what I saw there was for me like a cultural shock, right? So I was really shocked about the situation, especially when it came to the environment. So what we saw at that time, mid of the 90s in India, was that there's a lot of pollution, waste was everywhere, and it was actually a very sad story. And we spent a few months traveling across India, and during this travel, I had this decision in my mind that it was more and more clear that art history, as nice as it is, so nothing against art and also searching about art history, but it does not have at that time, and I still think that, a severe impact. So I was looking at that time for impacts. That's why I would also not like to speak about a career. So I don't think that I made a good career in my life, but what I was always hoping for was to have an impact. And waste management, in my opinion, has the opportunity to really has a significant impact on different types in your life, in your personal life, and also the whole environment that you are living on and an impact in worldwide communities, marginalized communities, rural communities. And that's why I'm convinced that this decision 25 years ago was the right one. So I canceled within 1 week my study at the University for Art History. I started a vocational training in a metal smelter. I learned to drive the forklift truck. I learned to drive. I learned to like welding, and then I studied mechanical and environmental engineering, with a focus on environmental engineering. And this was then the start. From that on, I was fascinated by the topic of waste management. And I started to be in several companies, first in Germany, then in UK, and to get some experience, and to learn waste management from first hand, to get practical experience. And it took me then until 2016, where I decided, together with a colleague of mine, to found Black Forest Solutions. At that time, we were a small startup. Just one room, so one office dock. So if you look at our website, you will see, you will still see our office dock, Anton. And we started with just one table and 2 chairs, and developed this Black Forest Solutions at that time. And now, after soon 5 years, so we have our 5th anniversary in January. We are having 24 staff. Worldwide consultancy projects where we have an impact on the communities. That's what we hope, because we are not see us as just a consultancy company. We consider ourselves also as the ones implementing the concepts and solutions that we are suggesting. And we took also another decision, that we are starting now a joint venture in India, actually. We have done the first steps towards this new company. We are founding this company in Mumbai. So if you are interested to get in touch with us, then please do not hesitate. We are interested in learning, get to know young staff, graduates, and enthusiastic people who are interested in waste management and circular economy. We would love to get in touch with you and see how we can cooperate in India or also in other projects worldwide. And when it comes to the profile that I see for young professionals from ISWA, it's just my personal opinion, is that it should not be so much the focus on university and studies and theory, but rather on practical experience. So of course you have to finish your university, you have to have also a certificate and a good education. But what is even more important, in my just personal opinion, is this practical experience. And what I still also learn more and more during the recent years, waste management is covering different aspects. So if you are more a technical person, you can be happy and lucky and comfortable with waste management. But also if you're, for example, interested more in numbers and finance, this also gives you a chance in waste management to think about this, or legal aspects or social aspects. So it has a wide range of different aspects, and I can only encourage you to continue, stay on that route, on that avenue, circular economy and waste management. There will be always waste in this world, and let's make it better together and find solutions for waste management. Thank you.
Of us. While you're establishing your joint venture in Mumbai, could you tell us, is there a website that our YPGs and young professionals where they could come, they could visit and find out what profiles they can apply for?
Yeah, so your voice was a bit
helpful.
Breaking, so I could not get everything. Sorry.
Okay. I said if you could, direct all the young professionals towards your recruitment website for the
Okay,
Mumbai
sure.
office.
How I can do this through Aditi, right? So I can share my contact details and from our team. And then, as I said, we are really open to get in touch with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sebastian. So I move forward to Dr. Andrea Winterstetter. Thank you for joining us. So Andrea, hi. You come from a research background. And could you brief us about yourself, your journey, and in specific, how do you see young professionals contributing to research in terms of waste management best practices? But like I also said, we are moving towards Industry 4.0, and how are we seeing influence between Industry 4.0 and circular economy? How research is going to be a big role play here.
Yeah. Thank you, Kamal, and hello, everyone. I prepared some slides. I was trying to share my screen, but I'm not sure if this is really working. So,
Yeah, I think it's coming up. Yeah. Yes, it's there. Yes, we can, Andrea, we can see the slides.
But is it
okay?
Okay, perfect. But this is not my screen, right? This is probably
no, it's perfect.
Yeah. Anyways, so I have to. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, I would like to do the other way around. I mean, I found it really inspirational, the story Sebastian just shared, how how he found his way into waste management. So I would do the other way around. First of all, I would like to tell you a little bit about my current employer, which is VITO, the Flemish Institute for Technological Research. It's an applied research institute, and yeah, in the end, explain a little bit how I ended up there. Okay. So yeah, VITO is an international research center, and the idea is to convert ideas into reality, and to somehow lead scientific findings into application. We are trying to support sustainable development goals, climate change, sustainable production consumption, sustainable cities, all the 6 ones you can see, gender equality, clean water, and yeah, can you slide? Yeah. So our headquarters are located in Mol in the province of Antwerp in northern Belgium. So we are in the Dutch-speaking part. We have close to 1,000 employees by now from 45 countries. VITO develops technological solutions and provides advice to support sustainable development. We operate on own resources, so from contact research and patents, and we receive also quite significant subsidies from the Flemish government. So Flanders is the northern part of Belgium, right? And yeah, in 2019 we had a turnover of 205 million euros. And this is the 6 fields VITO is active in. So in energy, chemistry, materials, health, and land use. And so yeah, I'm in the materials unit, and one of our key missions is to support the transition to a circular economy. So VITO is fully engaged in accelerating the transition towards a circular economy by developing processes and technologies for industry to upcycle the waste streams into value-added resources and products, and by unlocking the potential of a circular economy for Flanders and also for Europe. So yeah, in the sustainable materials department, we have about 100 employees divided in 3 different teams. I'm in the one that researches and works on circular economy strategies. Then we have one working on upcycling industrial waste into new products, and a team trying to optimize products and processes. And we do this at 3 different levels. So in the circular economy strategy team, how are we trying to support the transition to a circular economy? So we do this at 3 different levels. We are first of all developing business and product strategies, but also circular economy materials management policies. Then to have a, like, let's say, a scientific way of approaching it. So we develop also assessment methods and indicators. And we have quite some models and generate a lot of data. And we're looking also into how to, what to do with this data. So these are some of our clients. On the left-hand side from industry, on the right-hand side from policy, public sector. So as you can see here, you have the Belgian government, the Flemish government, OVAM, which is the Flemish Public Waste Agency, but also the European Commission and the European Environment Agency. And for industry, here are just some examples. Maybe you know European Space Agency, then you probably know ISWA, Umicore, yeah, and some more. But this is just some of them. Yeah, then so my way into waste and resource management. It's interesting that Sebastian was saying that he studied arts history in the beginning, because I also started out with nothing really waste related. So I studied, my bachelor's degree was about international business and French cultural and literature studies. Yeah, and I finished it and worked first in actually cultural management in a theater in Vienna. But then I thought I would like to do something more impactful, something that can have more impact, and then decided to go for a master's degree in environmental technology and international affairs in Vienna. And this is partly at the Technical University and partly at the Diplomatic Academy in Vienna. And yeah, I wrote my master's thesis on the management of persistent organic pollution waste in developing countries and transition economies, and mainly on the legal aspects and how this is regulated under the international conventions. So this was my first contact with waste management. Then I decided to go for a PhD at the Technical University in Vienna at the Research Center for Waste and Resource Management. Maybe you know Professor Fellner and Professor Rechberger. And my thesis was about evaluating secondary raw materials. And so it started in 2013, and in 2013, the ISWA World Congress took place in Vienna. And this is when we founded the Young Professionals Group of ISWA. So it was a coincidence. I happened to be in Vienna at the time, and I was there at the Congress. And so this was when we decided to set this up together. And yeah, so this influenced really also my motivation to stay in waste management. And it was really because the group is so dynamic and so dedicated, and everyone is passionate about waste management. So yeah, I decided to stay there and dedicate my professional life to waste and resource management. And after my PhD, I took on a postdoc position and at Vito, where I'm currently in Belgium. And now I'm working on policy-oriented applied research, and we also do some consultancy projects in waste and resources for industry and for the public sector. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Again, just like Sebastian, even your journey is quite inspiring. How would you guide the young professionals to take up research as their profession in the field of waste management? Do you have any guidelines, or from your own experience, how would you want to give them some tips that are important? Specifically because in the last 5 years, India has had a surge in terms of the courses offered in waste management, which earlier didn't exist. And now we also have a lot of students taking up PhDs in the waste management field. So what would be your tips in terms of the career, in terms of their success in their professional life?
First of all, I would recommend to join the young professionals, ISWA Young Professionals. And then as a researcher particularly, we have a working group on research and innovation. So I think it is really useful to either, I think in the Indian chapter you have also a subgroup on research and innovation, either join this local chapter and this working group, or join the international group, because I think it's really useful to to exchange with other young professionals who are also active in research. And it's amazing, really. I mean, you just you have a particular question on, you need data, you need contacts, you just type it in the WhatsApp, and 5 minutes later you get an answer. So I think this creating a network and knowing people who work on topics that you're also interested in, and then exchanging is really, really important. This is what I would together, obviously, with staying focused in your research. But yeah, this is on top, let's say.
Thank you, Andrea. That was quite insightful. Now we'll come to Aditi. Aditi has been I would say, the guiding force behind establishing India YPG, and she's the part of the Secretariat ISWA. Aditi, you have been here in India for more than a year now. How do you see the Indian scenario in terms of the growing markets for careers in waste management, and how do you see young professionals can be part of this new change that we're seeing, where waste management is seen as a profession and not as a hobby or a social service in India?
Thank you, Kamal. So I do have a presentation prepared, because I just wanted to tell people also how I got into this field, and I'll come to your question. So if Robin can put up my presentation, I'll briefly begin, just like Andrea, just to tell you where I work currently. If you go to the next slide, please. ISWA, as you already probably know, if you're attending the session, you've probably been to one of our events, or you know Kamal or me personally. I'm Aditi, as you already know, and I work at ISWA, the General Secretariat. And this is an independent non-profit association that's promoting sustainable and comprehensive waste management worldwide, while also promoting a transition to a circular economy. So that's in a nutshell what we stand for and what we do. And we have members from over 110 countries, and the way the structure is of the association, we have many national members. I would say about 55 national members from different parts of the world. And as Andre already introduced, we have a young professionals group that was founded in 2013, and in 2016 we formed the YPG India chapter. So it's 5 years of ISWA YPG in India, which I'm really proud of, because we were there at the founding event. If you go to the next slide, please. Just briefly, ISWA is a membership-based organization. So if you aren't a member yet, do join the whole network. And as Andrea said, to join ISWA YPG, you will also have to be a member of ISWA. So that's like a two-step process. You can find more information on the website, or write to our membership manager, and his email is right on the screen for you. Next slide, please. So briefly, before I answer Kamal's question, I just want to tell you a little bit about how I got into this field as well. Similar to the other two speakers, I didn't start off in waste management. I've always been interested in the field of environment and sustainability since I was a child, but I actually went to school for computer science and engineering. So the first 2 degrees of mine were in computer science and engineering. I even worked in the field for a while, based in the US. I worked at Sun Microsystems, and then moved on to Caterpillar, which is based in Illinois, in the Midwest in the US. There I was working for the engines compliance department, where we were basically bringing engines or off-road engines into compliance with the US EPA norms. So I did that for a while, but I had always wanted to go back to school for another master's in sustainability or the environment. So not yet waste management. So when I went back for my master's, I did the same course that Andrea actually was at as well. And I focused on plastic waste management, something called exergy analysis of plastic waste management. What that basically means is you're looking at the management of the whole plastic system through a lens of thermodynamics. So you're basically looking at the second law, where you're seeing at which point does it make sense for you to incinerate plastics versus recycle it. So there is a certain point in the system at which it's just more feasible, and technically feasible, also economically more feasible to do one or the other. And so that's what I applied my master's thesis knowledge on. And Right after that, I worked at the UN for a little while before going back into waste management. That's when I started working at ISWA, and it's been almost 5 years since I've been there. If you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so I just want to briefly say what I do there. I mean, I'm working, I lead a team on technical cooperation, and we do innovative projects globally. We work with, associations and organizations such as the UN, also with our national member organizations. I mentioned we have about 55 of them, and we work on projects where we basically guide and interact with stakeholders and municipalities at the local level to come up with solutions for integrated sustainable waste management. So it's basically moving up the waste hierarchy, coming up with solutions for collection services, all the way to recycling and management of waste and so on. We also work on publications. So if you still go back, previous slide, please. Yeah. Thank you. And we also work on publications with UN bodies. So there's going to be one upcoming in the next month or 2 months from now, the Global Waste Management Outlook 2, where we are basically looking at waste management in a holistic manner and seeing what changes have happened in the last 5 years since the last publication was out. So through my work, I don't want to talk too much about what I do, but through my work on development cooperation, I've learned a few things which I just want to also share with you is the 3 things that you see on the screen. It's involvement, respect, and sustainability. I just wanted to put a few words out there. What I basically mean by this is that when you go to work on a system, if you go to a municipality or you go to a little town, you basically try and have all these stakeholders involved from the very beginning. So it has to be a participatory approach rather than going and telling them, hey, this is what I think you should do. It should be a learning process both ways, and there should be utmost respect in the way you interact with the local experts or the local, say, municipality. And also when you go in, one should look at the long-term impacts and also should look at how the project is going to be sustainable once you move away from there. And so these are the 3 things that I feel is interesting in my work, and I always keep in mind when I start something new. And if you go to the next slide, please. This is more of a few tips that I've learned along the way, and actually those 5 things that you see are basically things that my bosses, the 5 bosses that I've had, have said to me at some point in time. So for instance, don't compare your day 1 with someone else's 50. I mean, you always start somewhere. Of course, as I said, and the last 2 speakers as well said, we didn't begin our journey in waste management, but we got there because of interests, our passions. We wanted to do something impactful. And especially for me, I also like working with people. So this was like the right combination of technical and social coming together. The 80-20 rule was my boss at the business school where I was actually assistant for a while. She talked about the 80-20 rule. What she meant to say is that 80% of the people that you meet are always going to agree with you, are going to like you, or you get along with, and 20% won't. So it's just a fact of life. Take it, make sure it works for you. Don't put 80% of your time into the 20%, and so on and so forth. My boss at Caterpillar, Jeff, was always saying, the world is a big place. There's plenty of room for everyone to make a difference, and we should take care of our planet just the way it takes care of us right now till we disturb equilibriums. Don't want to get into that. And also, my boss at the UN was always saying, if you want to go fast, please, by all means, go alone. You'll get really far. But if you actually want to go a long distance, you should go together. So working together is always the better option in the long run for everybody. And my current boss always tells me this work-life balance should always be maintained. Not even a balance, more like harmony. And so you should know at what point you're overdoing one or the other, and so you should learn to say no at the right time. So this is something I just wanted to pass on to you as well. Next slide, please. Well, so coming back to our waste management questions, there are a few drivers that have been driving waste management solutions from the very beginning. So the first environmental laws were driven by, the effects on human health and the environment. And that's still true. So we began, I would say, in more high-income countries, a century ago. The drivers at that point were human health and the environment, and it still remains to this day. Of course, things have changed. I mean, now you see marine litter on the fore. You talk about climate change. These have been, things that have come into play now, but they don't change. So human health and the environment are still our first priority. Another thing is people talk a lot about source segregation. That still remains quite an important point to remember when we start with waste management systems. Another thing which you probably have also heard here said a lot, I think it's attributed to Gandhi. I'm not sure. I'm sure a lot of people have said this through the history of mankind. Think globally, but act locally. So have a global picture in mind. But since you are one person, you can make a difference in your surrounding. More often than not, you can make the biggest impact in your surroundings and in where you're actually living. And on my wish list, and I always say this wherever I present, is the polluter pays principle. So if you look, there are several inequalities existing in the world currently. And one of them also happens to be that the people who pollute the most don't actually end up paying for it the most. And so that should change. It should be a fair distribution of responsibilities. And also we should start looking at, when we actually look at the impact of a product, we should start looking at from the very beginning. So the life cycle of a product. And that was actually what I did in my thesis. And when I talked about the exergy analysis, was taking into account all the way from extraction of resources to the time that it has an end of life. So these are just a few things about things that we should remember when we talk about waste management. And now coming to Kamal's question, this was my last slide, by the way. So thank you. Coming back to Kamal's questions, he said, how do I see, since I've been here now for a year, how do I see waste management being talked about within the young professionals and so on? And I've through Kamal actually also, because Kamal has a good network here, and also my other friends, I've seen that more and more people are getting interested in these topics. And as he also mentioned, the last 5 years I've seen a lot of courses, a lot of degrees, and also just like vocational training on these topics. So I see a very positive trend towards moving to these sustainability issues and so on. I also see a lot of people have started their own either consultancies or companies and so on, focusing on these, and also a lot of friends who are now working in these topics at either the UN or some other company. So it's a positive trend, and I'm very happy to actually be here. This year has been rather strange. We've worked from home most of the time, so I haven't been able to interact physically with as many people as I'd like to in the country. So hopefully next year will be better. But just to answer your question in a nutshell, it's a positive trend, and I'm very happy about that.
Thank you, Aditi. Again, quite inspiring. I think that's what most of the YPs in India would require, to see how each of our journeys have shaped us, and how we have part of the a bigger challenge that probably was ignored for quite a long time. So I think I'm the last
Yes,
person
please.
to introduce myself and speak about. Yeah. So I'm Kamal Raj. I don't have a presentation as such. I'm with Infosys, and one is that I'm quite proud to say that we are a carbon neutral company, and we achieved it 30 years ahead of the Paris Agreement. And why I'm proud of this is because as a company, while we are a large corporate, we're also very socially conscious, and I lead the waste and wastewater initiatives at Infosys now. And it's been 5 years that I've been working here. And it's exactly been 5 years that I'm also part of YPG, right? So it's quite a coincidence. What I would say is I'll quickly jump into how I am seeing trends in India and how I see careers picking up in terms of waste management. I was a social entrepreneur myself for the first 5 years of my life, professional life, and then I moved on to become, a corporate guy leading sustainability initiatives. So while the environment for the first half of last decade, between 2010 to 2015, 2015 wasn't very conducive for a lot of startups which were looking into waste management, right? But things have changed in the last 4 to 5 years, where startups in India, like Aditi mentioned, have gone up. People have started on their own. There are people into consulting, there are people into technical deliveries, there are people into system designs, there are people who are delivering systems like your biogas plants or your composting plants or your waste sorting machines and things like that. So that's how I've seen the trend change. While I spoke about this even last year, what I have seen a shift from my own personal career growth last 1 year, and what I'm seeing as a shift for India being an IT hub, is that in the last 1 year, I'm seeing that a lot of push has been made into Industry 4.0 globally. What we're talking about is your manufacturing becoming more digital, more smart. While we are doing this, we're also looking at materials, and that's where we are talking about circular economy. There are companies like Toyota, which says by 2050, almost all their cars they produce is going to be out of recycled material, or even Apple saying that they have an aim of going 100% recyclable recyclable sourced raw materials for their products. While these two are parallels, I see a synergy there, and I'm working with Infosys, which is a tech company, and I'm fortunate to see that not only people from environment background, or not only people with just passion, but today people who have an IT background, who are software engineers, who are hardware engineers, who are IoT integrators, they have a big scope in terms of their careers in waste management. This is the shift I've seen in the last 1 year, because I'm placed in such a situation where I'm exploring, people who have skill sets in blockchain technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and then we're also talking about sensor-based technologies for waste sorting. And these are the kind of new avenues that I'm seeing, that a lot of people who want to still retain their talents in terms of their educational background in tech, but also want to contribute into waste management. And there is a lot of, I would say, investment being made. I personally mentor about 4 such startups where they are into, one is into robotic sorting using machine learning and vision-based systems. So you see that there is a jump in terms of earlier it would be only if you had passion, you become a practitioner, you join waste management. Otherwise, you had environment engineering background or an environment background in your academics, you come into waste management. But this has changed. I see electrical, and software engineers being part of this. So I think there's a big push, and I think this is what is going to be my mission for the next 2 years. Try to bring as much technology intervention into waste management, make it more efficient, make it a point that we help municipalities in India gather as much resources into their circular economy concept, recycling, enable people, enable the bottom line like our waste pickers, enable the informal sector with technologies for better resource recovery. So these are the avenues that I see that youngsters today and YPs in the country can look into, other than the traditional waste management careers we have in India. So this is what we have done, and I am seeing this trend not only in India but in US. I am personally on projects where we are doing technological transformation for two of major waste management companies in America, where we are seeing that even the American companies, while they have the physical infrastructure to handle waste management, but they're also looking into transforming themselves into technologically assisted systems where the recovery rates are higher, reporting structure is much better, you have data mining in waste management. So this is the same trend that I'm seeing in India, where we're also talking about technological interventions in garbage collection, to your redress cells, to your landfill monitoring, to your other systems. So I see in next 5 years, and I recommend most of you who are listening to this session, that if irrespective of the backgrounds that you're from, don't be look as rather you look forward for technological opportunities within waste management. It is just poised to grow, and there's a lot of investment coming, and I'm very sure next 5 years, this is going to be a very big career path for a lot of people in waste management. So that was my take on careers and my experience specifically in the last 1 year, thanks to India being a IT hub. Uh, we will move on into our next session. So before I move on to our next session, I thank Sebastian, I thank Dr. Andrea, I thank Aditi, and the IFAT team, which is helping us to host this beautiful session. I really hope that this session brings in a lot of information, a lot of clarity to people looking into waste management as their careers in India. And like you've seen, we have touched upon being from a consulting firm to someone working with organizations in waste management to someone who's guided us on how research could be a career path for us, and someone like me who has been into IT company and seeing transformation into technology. So I think we've had a fantastic session, and it's time for us to quickly move into our next session, which is our, I think Aditi and Andrea, all of us eagerly wait every year, is our annual meeting of ISWA YPG India. One, to celebrate our 5th anniversary, and second, to discuss how we can take this forward. We can how we can make it more inclusive in terms of the exposures that Andrea touched upon, and how we can structure it in a way that we have more and more I would say activities, which I think Aditi is quite eager to share with us. So I would officially announce the start of our session, our annual meet, ISWA YPG. I congratulate each one of you, and especially Andrea and Aditi for guiding us from the ISWA YPG global standpoint. And I'm glad that I have both of you. First, I would have Andrea. I would request you to speak to our audience, tell them something about our global initiatives, how you've seen the Indian YPG chapter growing, and then I will go to Aditi with a few more questions. Yes, over to you, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you, Kamal. Yeah, first of all, congratulations to your 5th anniversary. It's really great. Also, I think it was a great journey for the Indian chapter to develop over the last 5 years. Yeah, so probably, as you know, we are the ISWA Young Professionals. We are quite a globally operating group. So most of our meetings are somehow taking place online via Skype. If we are lucky, we get to meet once a year at the annual congress. But other than this, really our cooperation is rather virtual, I would say, because we are quite spread over. So, and this is why we decided 2 years after we set up this young professional chapter in Vienna, 2 years later in 2015, we somehow decided to create local chapters, because it's nice also to have people on the ground who can physically meet and who can have who can meet and who can have common activities. And yeah, so we started it in Germany, in Hamburg, and then quite closely after, the Indian chapter was set up and Chinese chapter was set up, and in Brazil we have one, and we have one in Pakistan, in Ukraine, in Azerbaijan, UK, Colombia. Since recently we are in talks with Peru, so it's covering the whole world. So yeah, and it's always nice. So I'm heading. I used to chair the young professionals group, and now I'm after my chair womanship was over. I'm still heading the regional and local networks working group. And the leaders of these working groups, we are meeting once, let's say, once a month. We're trying, and where we exchange, really. Okay, so where the Indian leader is exchanging, reporting about activities from India, exchanging with Pakistan, with Ukraine, with Brazil, to somehow inspire each other, to tell each other what has worked and what not. And yeah, so I think it's really, really great to connect, really, the full waste world, let's say. Yeah, this is our mission.
Thank you, Andrea. Aditi, before I go to you, I just realized we had some questions from the last session. I hope it's okay to answer them first and then go into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The first question is from Bhumika Soni. She says, "Why in India waste management is looked at as social work than a career path?" So, Aditi, would you want to take that question?
Sure. I think it goes back to what Kamal said as well. I mean, traditionally, this so waste management hasn't been as part of a degree or something. It's usually people have come in through other ways. So they finish their first degree or second degree, and then by chance get into waste management. And this is changing. So earlier on, it used to be looked at as social work, possibly because there was no like a straight path towards working in waste management. But now you see that there's, as both the speakers have mentioned before, that Industry 4.0 is coming into it in a big way. There's digitalization of the sector, and this actually requires more than just some knowledge. There's actually, you need a technical degree and so on. So as that changes, and that change has been happening over the last 5 years, you'll start to see that that becomes a more viable career option for people. And already through our YPG India meetings over the last 5 years that we had in Mumbai, we've always seen people moving into this. So, people doing degrees. I think there were a few from IIT Mumbai, people who had done a proper degree in waste management and so on. So it's going to change. So it's nothing that we can do anything immediately about, but it's changing and in a good way. She also asked about, can you suggest a course in waste management in India? I
Yes.
don't know of a bachelor's yet, but I do know that some of the IITs offer masters and PhDs in waste management, and
Yes.
also
Yes.
through the traditional civil engineering programs, right? They have a waste management component, which is now becoming a bigger component as we go forward.
Correct. Correct.
Kamal, you can answer that too.
Yeah, absolutely, Alti. So I think, as such, we don't have structured courses in terms of bachelor's or in terms of full-fledged undergrad programs. What we've seen is it's part of either the environmental courses, bachelor's, or your civil engineering thing. But I think now they are all becoming mainstream subjects within these courses. And we're also seeing that there are a lot of masters which are being offered. And as late as I've been hearing that there's going to be an MBA from one of the IIMs in waste management. So I think that's quite exciting. Like I said, it would take some time for India to mature. I think currently we have quite a lot of focused courses in Europe and US, and some courses that I know of in Australia. In India, it is picking up. Like I said, the sector is picking up, so definitely the academics will look into it, see to that we will have a full-fledged master's program very soon. But yes, there are PhD programs which are already offered by IITs and a lot of other universities. So yeah. So I think those were the two questions. I'm really sorry that I didn't see the chat box, but I think we did justice to the question. So Aditi, you have been part of this journey since the start, and in 2015, 16, when we did our first launch, you were virtually present with us. And
I was physically present with
sorry,
you, Kamal.
no, no, no. Thanks to this whole virtual discussions I've been only talking about. Yeah, you were there, and we also had the past chair job, and it was a fantastic launch. So,
Yeah.
why did you throw light on how you've seen the last 5 years Indian YPG chapter grow, and you've been part of several, physical meets that we have in present when you meets when we had in Mumbai, including last year. So how do you see the last 5 years? How do you see the chapter grow?
Good question, Kamal. Yeah, so we did indeed start off in a very big way. We had, I think, 100 participants that year in Mumbai, and what we've noticed over the last 5 years that we've had these annual meetings with always in conjunction with EFAT. It's like the perfect avenue for us because it gives you the solutions. It's the biggest network fair for waste management. it's a great it also has a good scientific program. So usually people always travel to the EFAT fair, and then we have the annual meeting, and those are very well attended. So I would say the year that we had close to 75-80 participants that year as well. Um, what we did notice, I think Kamal and I and Andrea have spoken about this before, is that it's very hard to sustain that level of interest throughout the year, because India is a big country. It's almost a subcontinent by itself. Also, no two cities are the same in terms of the challenges that they face in terms of waste management. Languages are different every 200 kilometers and so on. So it was easy for us to do the in-person meetings. People traveled from as far as Bangalore, from Mumbai, Pune, and so on. But to sustain that level of interest throughout the year was always hard for us. What we did do is we had online meetings. We had these kind of events online, which I think is a good way forward anyway. I mean, 2020 has spurred us into this digital journey in some ways, this virtual digital journey. And I guess this is how we'll have to keep it up. We did recently have one of our YPG members from he's based in Chennai, gave us a very nice presentation on the system that he's developing there. We had a good number of people participating. And also recently, at the beginning of this year, some of us got together, some friends from Pakistan and some from here. We established this, India-Pakistan Sustainability Forum to not only talk about waste management, but other environmental issues as well as part of waste management. And so we see this collaboration going on, and I feel, Kamal, that once in a while we should meet on physically, but I think online would be the way to go forward, especially considering the size and how difficult it is to sometimes go from city to city. So.
And also because of the pandemic, you can't meet in person.
No.
So thank you, Aditi. And I co-lead the India chapter. What we've seen in the last 5 years is, yes, we've seen quite a lot of people sign up for our sessions. We have an active WhatsApp group with about 62 people in it, and very active in terms of knowledge sharing, very active in terms of even from a career guidance standpoint, networking standpoint, solution standpoint, even sometimes research standpoint. We've had people from UN Habitat, we have people having, people from research institute, people from industries like me, people from the waste management solution providers, and there are people who were wanting to jump into this sector. They are also part of the YPG network. We are quite active on our WhatsApp group. And personally, I have seen that this platform has served in terms of getting few opportunities for our YPGs. I personally have recommended close to 7 of them to different job profiles in India. I think that way it is becoming a platform where people are reaping the benefits. Number one, and like Aditi said, we've had a great association with the Pakistan YPG group, and in fact, we have our, I would say, our own forum called the Indo-Pakistan Sustainability Forum. We've had a lot of exchanges. We've had cross learnings between the two countries. And I think that itself showcases that how we can go beyond boundaries and we can discuss our challenges and also share our best practices. One of the key things that I've seen the last 5 years is, of course, the greater turnout in terms of our annual meet at Mumbai. And I again want to thank IFAT India, Mumbai specifically, for giving us the platform, giving us the stage. And like Aditi already put, it's the right place for people to come and learn and also start networking, and specifically for young professionals. The second key thing that I've seen that YPG India has promoted is the interest for those beginners in waste management. We have tried to, at different levels, be it at our sessions, online sessions, be it at local meetups, or even at the annual meets, or even at a personal level when they reach out to each one of us, we have been able to help them on board into the journey of waste management with all our experiences. So I think it is like a perfect springboard for them, where they come, they understand, and then they take the plunge into the sector. What I've also seen is now slowly we've, at least at my level, I have seen people approach me with saying, can you share this particular detail on the WhatsApp group where you have the young professionals, be it in terms of recruitment, be it in terms of some research requirement, be it in terms of even some sort of collaborations, where we've had recently, as recent as last week, we have had municipality. One of our members, YPG members, is also a government official, and they are into a tendering process for a big project. So they are posting these kind of requirements, tender documents, and things like that in our group. So I think this is growing. I see we have a lot of scope to improve. But I think for last 5 years we've done a tremendous job. We've been quite active, and I hope this is what we continue to do forward. So, keeping time in check, I think we have exactly arrived at the right time. It's 5:30 India. I think this was our schedule. So before we all end the session, I would first thank each one of you, each participant, the speakers, and even the organizers for, again, I would say, helping us for this digital platform, making sure that we don't break the tradition of hosting our annual meet. I would request Aditi and Andrea to give us a message, to give a message to ISWA YPG India on our next year, and some of your thoughts that we should incorporate in our future journey. So Aditi and then Andrea. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kamal. And as you heard, we are very active on WhatsApp, and we also share, job opportunities and other project opportunities there. So do join us. I hope 2021 will be different, and we can actually meet in person in Mumbai next year. And till then, we continue to work with the global group under Andrea's leadership and Kamal and Gaurav's leadership. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen next year. And that's it. I mean, I want to wish everybody luck, and also thanks to the participants and the organizers. Over to Andrea, since we've already crossed the time.
Yeah, thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Kamal, for hosting this session, and thanks to IFAD India in general for having us. I think I can only say it's been a great journey for ISWA Young Professionals India, and I hope that you keep up the great work, and we just continue working at a local level in connection, in close collaboration with the global level, and keep growing and keep expanding. Thank you.
Thank you all, and have a great Christmas and New Year. And I hope we find solutions for the pandemic in the coming New Year. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.